You know, this is for about classification and unsupervised learning. And if you recall, the regression and time series we have seen are all supervised learning because it has a label, like you know, the label we have a like a, I mean, your data set has a multiple columns, and one column is the label. It means that there is the goal that you want to find out. I mean, there is the target that you want to predict. So, for example, as we have seen, you want to predict the person's annual salary, annual income. Then, out of 20 columns for each person's profile, there is one column like a salary, annual salary. That is the label that you use to complete your equation, and also you want to predict with a new data set. Okay, so if you build a model, if you build a regression model that can predict a annual income, then using that model, if there is a new person that you don't know his or her annual income, but based on this person's profile information, like the gender, the years of experience, and the educational level, etc., you can predict the annual income using this model with the profile information. Okay, so once you have a data set with a label to predict, then there is the supervised learning. And the example that you have seen so far is regression, time series forecast. And now we have a classification. Okay? And after classification, then you will learn unsupervised learning with a clustering example. I mean, clustering algorithm. Okay. So simply we continue the classification algorithm that is a part of a supervised learning. So like, you know, the same, we have a classification model function f that is like a f over x equals ax plus b again. Okay. So, you know, given a data set, x over I and y over I, these are simply the columns, right? But x over I are columns, not the label, and y over I is the column, actually label. So we have entire columns can be divided into the label column and the rest of the column, x. Okay, so depends on how many columns exist, the I can be 1 to, I mean, depends on how many records you have, I can be 1 to n. Okay. And that looks exactly the same as regression equation, but if you, I mean, as the name said, classification means like you want to find out, for example, if this email is spam mail or non-spam mail, and also if this patient is infected or non-infected by the COVID-19. Okay, so it is simply classified into 2 class or the multiple class, like a 3 class or 5 classes. And regression is predict the real value, like annual income, number of bikes sold. So regression has a label with numeric like values, but classification has a label with 2 class or 3 class or 4 class. That is a much small number of categories. And in this example, we have a we want to predict if this sinkhole is going to explode or not. Okay? So at New York City, you have the sinkhole, and then depends on how old the cable under that sinkhole, you want to predict if that sinkhole is going to explode with a fire or not, because your cable is too old. Maybe when you have too much power, then it's going to start exploding with the fire. So in this simple example, I mean, there are a bunch of columns, but simply you just select one column, the ear of the cable, and then you can also find out the class. There's the number of explosion. Okay. Or simply you can say if this if this sinkhole is going to explode or not. Okay. So if we want to make it simple, the label is just simply explode or non-explode. And then the chart is like X and Y. X is the cable years from 1925 to 2015, and Y can be event 0 to 20 or 0 to 1, like a exploded or non-exploded. Or the 20 events means one time exploded or 20 times exploded, etc. But if we want to make it simple, then we can just simply say this hole was exploded or non-exploded last year. Okay. So the function could be like easy. Okay. So okay, let me repeat the column number again. Okay, so the label, I gave you incorrect information. So we can say there are two columns and one label. Label is simply this hole is going to explode or not. And the column, we have two columns to predict if this sinkhole is going to explode or not with the year of cable and number of events that happened last year. So these two columns are used to predict this if this sinkhole is going to explode or not. So the equation, the function x has a two column, like a number of events last year and number of year of cable. Year of cable. So the same as the regression, we have a f of x that is the predicted value, and again label is nothing else but to predict if this sinkhole is exploded or not, and actual value is y. So we can build a f of x with the column year over cable and column event over last year. So it is very similar equation that we have seen in the regression. Only difference is that the label is the two-class label. So one class, like this sinkhole is going to explode. The second, like class is this sinkhole not explode. Okay, and that also is that equation can be calculated exactly the same as what we did in regression. And also those equations are already given by the mathematician, so we can simply use it. Okay. So once we have that equation that we complete with our data set, then now we need to find out how accurate our model is, because like we have like, for example, 5 algorithms built by mathematician, and using those 5 classification algorithms, we can build 5 models with our data set, and then we can predict for each model, we can predict if this sinkhole is going to explode or not. Okay, but we have to measure the accuracy of those models using the test data set. For that, we need to use false positive rate and true positive rate. And false positive rate is the number of negatives that were classified as positive. That's why it is called the false positive. So you said positive, but that is not correct. Okay, so it means like you predict this person is infected, but actually this person is not infected. Then it is called the false positive. Okay? And for sinkhole, you predicted that this sinkhole is going to explode. However, it's not explode. Then it is false positive. Okay? So false positive rate again is the first positive divided by total number of negatives. Negative means for example, this sinkhole doesn't explode. Okay, so total number of negatives. I mean, false positive divided by total number of negatives are called the false positive rate, and true positive rate is true positive. It means that you predicted positive, and actually yes, it is the positive. So it means you predict this person is infected by corona, and then actually, yeah, this person is infected. That is called the true positive. Yeah, and for sinkhole, you predict this sinkhole is going to explode, and then yeah, actually it is exploded. Then that is called the true positive. So true positive rate is defined as true positive, number of true positive divided by total number of positives. So total number of positive means, the data set that actually show number of data set that has a positive like a event, like a number of people who are infected, or number of sinkhole that explode. Okay. So this is false positive rate and true positive rate. And then using false positive rate and true positive rate, you can draw the chart called the ROC curve. That stands for receiver operating characteristic curve, or simply you call it AUC, like an area on the curve. If you have like a diagonal line between false positive rate and true positive rate, actually, the out of a multiple data set, if the relation between these two rates are much higher than this line, I mean much upper than this line, then actually your model that predicts the classification is better. Better to use. Like if this line is between false positive rate and true positive rate, it means that it's like 50% like accuracy. Yeah, It's like your random selection. Okay. So as a human, like when you determine, for example, when you flip the coin, you can find out 50% probability to say it's going to be tail or head, right? But that's not good because you built a model with the existing data set to predict the future. So the model should predict it above 50% accuracy. Okay, so it means that, you know, if you have this line between first positive rate and true positive rate, it's like 50% accuracy. But if the model has much more true positive rate, then it means that your model is much better than your like a random selection. I mean, better than your random prediction. Okay, so the ROC curves, after you calculate true positive, false positive, then we can say we can use the model, because that is, you know, this is a much upper level than the diagonal line here. Okay? You have a diagonal line that is like 50%, but your model that predict the label has much higher value, like this. Okay, so this model you can use, but some reason. Okay, so again, this is ROC curve, but you can also say this is area under curve. So area under curve, you know, this is between 0 to 1 and 0 to 1. So if the area is 1 times 1, that is the 1 that is perfect, but so that is less than 1 times 1. I mean, 1 times 1 is 1, right? So even though this area on the curve is less than 1, still it is close to 1. Okay, so the model that can build this kind of the curve and area should be better than random prediction. Okay. And you can draw this chart if you have a if your model generate true positive or false positive, etc. Okay. However, some reason after you build your own model, if that that is below this, some reason if your chart looks like this, that is below below this line, then you can simply upside it down. Okay, if you reverse your classifier, then that still can generate the more accurate prediction. Okay? And that is much better than I mean, the originally it is worse than random guessing. If your area on the curve looks like this, then it is worse than your random guess. However, if you reverse it manually, then that could be much better than your random guessing. Okay, so you can flip it if you want. But you know, once you use a existing algorithm well to build your own model, then normally it is much better than random guessing. Okay. And also there is a confusion matrix that is to determine the accuracy of your classification model. You know, if you recall, regression model, you use sum of square error. That is simply the difference between the actual value and predicted value, right? But for classification, you have to use confusion matrix and area under curve. So confusion matrix, because we have a, assuming that we have a binary classification to say this sinkhole is going to explode or not, or this person is infected or non-infected, or this email is spam or non-spam. So if you say, for example, this person is impacted, I mean, so your data set says, this person is infected, so it's actually positive. And your model set, your model that you built said, I predict this person is infected. Then, you know, you impacted it as a, I mean, you predict this person is infected, but actually it is infected, then it becomes true positive. So this is true positive. But in the other way, if your model said, oh, this person is infected, however, actually this person is not infected, then it is called a false positive. Okay. So you can count number of data that are with a false positive. And also you predict, your model predict this person is not infected. So you predict a negative. And actually the real value says this person is positive, then there is first negative, because you predict it as a negative, but actually it is positive. And also if you said this person is not infected, so negative, you predict it negatively, but actually, yes, this person is not infected, so it becomes true negative. So confusion matrix is just to count number of data set that is predicted correctly or not by positive and negative. Okay. So once you have a number of data set with your model for each area, then you can calculate the precision and recall. So let me just show you precision, definition of precision. Definition of precision is true positive divided by sum of true positive and false positive. Okay, so it means that in your entire data set with the predicted and actual value, using the model that you built, there are the positive, actual positive values and actual negative values. And with your prediction, some of positive values are true positive value. It means that you predict it as a positive, and actually it is positive. So that is called a true positive. So precision, so for precision, you could use true positive, and I mean, you can use true positive and for this equation. And then you also need to use false positive. It means that you said you predict, your model predict this data is positive, but actually it is negative, so it is false positive. So precision is TP, true positive, divided by sum of true positive and false positive. So that is the definition of precision. And recall, similar, you use true positive, but at the same time, you need to use false negative as well. So false negative means you predict, your model predict this data is negative, but actually it is positive. So it is false negative. So the true positive divided by sum of false negative and true positive are called recall. Yeah. So precision and recall are used to determine the accuracy of your model. And then sometimes you need to give more weight for either precision or recall, depends on your situation. So it means like the higher the precision or the higher the recall, the better, the higher the accuracy of the model. So it means that, you know, the precision to make this equation as a higher value that is close to 1. TP is same, right? So you have to reduce the number of false positive. Okay, so false positive means, I mean, the lower the false positive, I mean, the lower the number of false positive, the higher the precision, right? Based on this equation, because you have the same TP here. So to increase this, the result of this equation, you have to reduce the number of false positive, right? So, for example, you predict this person infected by COVID, and if that is false, it's okay because you already quarantined this person, right? But in the other way, for you said this person is not infected, but if that is false, then you didn't quarantine this person, so it caused a lot of problem, right? So let's see, for recall, if you reduce the number of false negative, it actually doesn't affect the community, right? So for predict the COVID infection, I mean, confirm the cases, recall is not that important, but precision is important because if you, I mean, false positive is, I mean, if you reduce false positive, okay, let's see. You try to reduce the false positive to get higher accuracy. So it seems that recall is more important, right? It seems recall is more important for COVID-19 confirmed cases because if you reduce the lower the false negative, the higher the recall, right? And false negative is serious. You said this guy is negative, but if that is not correct, then your community has a big problem, right? So you have to reduce false negative than false positive. Okay. So yeah, so it depends on situation. For example, the COVID-19 confirmed cases that can predict, I mean, you can build a model that can predict confirmed cases, then I think recall is more important that you need to take care because the false negative is more serious than false positive. Okay. So anyhow, the point is depends on your the goal. You can give more weight for precision or recall to use your model. So you can use precision and recall and the AUC, area under curve, to determine the accuracy of your model. Besides, there are other the accuracy measurement, method called accuracy and F1, and accuracy is TP plus TN divided by entire data set, and F1 is precision times recall divided by precision plus recall. But as I said, especially for classification, area under curve and precision and recall, like area under curve, they should be close to 1, and precision and recall are the more important, the accuracy measurement that you have to use. I hope you guys can see what it is clearly. Is it clear for you guys what it is? Just curious. Any question for this? Any confusion? Does it make sense for you guys? Clear, you have a question, or is everything clear?
Oh, I was just saying everything's clear.
Great. Okay. Okay, so now let me move on unsupervised learning. Again, supervised learning has a label, and depends on the label. It can be regression and classification. Regression is simply to predict the entire number, and classification is simply to predict the binary, the value like a 0 or 1 or 0 to 4. Now we have unsupervised learning that doesn't have any label. Okay. So you have a data with the columns, but it doesn't have any label. I mean it doesn't have any column that can be a label. So you just have a data. Okay. So the popular algorithm for unsupervised learning is clustering. So as the name said, that is to group the data. Okay. So how you can group the data? That is the question, without any label. So there is no ground truth. So it's not easy to evaluate the clustering. And especially for clustering, I mean, when you do grouping, the first question is how many groups? I mean, like how many clusters you have. And how we can find out the structure of the data for grouping. And also, depends on number of group and the model, like algorithm, you may have a different result when you group it. Okay. So even human, like if you have this kind of a data set, how you can group them? Like you have a 7 object, and depends on your insight, you may have a different group. Like for example, here you group them with the how many legs, this group with the 2 legs, this group 4 legs, and this group 3 maybe. So if you don't have any label, then for unsupervised learning, such as grouping, it's really hard. Yeah. So for example, you group them by legs, but maybe you can group the live, like an animal, like a human and cat and bird. They are live. Yeah? So you can group them with these 3 live object and these 4 just things, right? So it's not easy to group them, but there is I mean, if you have a data set in 2D dimension, at least you can, I mean, based on number of columns, you can still group them. So I mean, especially in this 2D, like 2D space, any data set that is close to each other can be grouped together. So there is a popular algorithm called the k-means clustering. Oh, by the way, let me stop here before I go to k-means clustering. Let me stop here because it's already the time that we need to leave.